Chapter 40. The Raven. The approaching summer skies were hazy blue as Violet and her dad headed up Splendid Road on the way to that evening's committee meeting. Rose had gone to her new music class, so Violet, still not allowed to stay at home alone, was made to go to the town hall with her dad. The birds were singing in the evening sun, and she felt happy as she looked at the huge bunch of colourful flowers in her hands. They were from her mam. Town felt nice these days, calm and normal and nice. "Are you looking forward to the summer holidays, pet?" Eugene asked. "I think so, Dad. No more Mrs. Moody for months." "That sounds great," he laughed. "Did they find anything in the outskirts yet?" Violet asked a little nervously. "No, pet. Still nothing." Eugene shook his head. "That's what we'll be talking about again tonight. Madeline is adamant the whole place is empty. The cottage, the stables, everything. Hugo's transmitter was disconnected from the brain, and there was no sign of him or those other monsters anywhere either." "They were zombies, Dad. You saw Hugo." "They were some sort of mechanical construction, Violet. I saw that much. There's no such thing as zombies, pet." "But what about that road, Dad? The one that went past Poet's cottage? Did they try down there? Maybe they're hiding in the forest." Sometimes Violet toyed with the idea of going back to the outskirts to explore for herself. She knew kids would do a much better job than adults, but she wouldn't do it without Boy, and he wasn't ready to go back there yet. They checked everywhere. There was nothing, pet. Her dad sighed. But Madeline assured the rest of the committee they'd keep looking. "I told you, they did find your white room a few days ago. Madeline is going to fill us in more on that tonight. Robert Blott was like an excited child over the finding, though he can't report on it now. He's taken Vincent's place on the committee. What a piece of genius on the Archer's part, though, making clouds like that." "Dad," Violet corrected, "you can't call the Archers genius. That's just wrong." "I'm only admiring their intellect, Violet, that's all." "What's that?" "Their brains, pet." "Oh. Boy told me William's got all the eye plants blooming again. He said it took his dad a while to be able to even think about planting them, but now they're back and watching again," she said excitedly. "We probably don't need to use the brain, though, because both Edward and George are locked up." "Better safe than sorry, Violet," Eugene said, waving at Mr. Hatchett, who was just closing up his butcher's shop for the night. "And it's helping William. He finds work helps keeping his mind off things." Violet stopped opposite the road up to her school. "I promised Mam I'd drop these off, Dad," she said, holding up the bunch of flowers. "OK, pet. I better head on before I'm late. I'll be checking the viewing platform to make sure you're there, though, Violet. So don't delay. I know how much you love these meetings," he joked. The setting sun hung low, making the road look yellow as she walked up the hill, past her school, until the low wall and small wooden gate came into view. Violet hadn't realised there was a graveyard in town, having had no need to visit it before. Now, as she looked at the flowers in her hand, part of her wished she still didn't have to know about the place. This graveyard was nothing like the one in the Ghost Estate, though. There were no crumbling stone tombs with names like Quintus Horatius Flaccus engraved on their sides, or towering grey monuments broken and cracked with age. The graves here were all marked with simple wooden crosses and covered in colourful wild flowers. Wild flowers also ran all along the inside of the low stone wall that surrounded it. And, as it was almost summer, the evening was filled with birdsong and the sound of hovering bees as they busily buzzed for food. There were wooden benches dotted around too, and sometimes people just sat there reading. Her mam said they were keeping their loved ones company. Violet had just opened the latch on the wooden gate when she looked up and spotted Boy sitting cross-legged at his mam's graveside ahead, almost like he was chatting to Macula. "Hey," she called, walking towards him. "Are you trying to avoid the committee meeting too?" Boy jumped up and stumbled backwards. Violet would have laughed had she not caught the fear in his ice-blue eyes. She stopped still on the pebblestone path. Her heart was thumping. "Your mam would love that you came, Tom," she said softly. "Violet!" a voice called behind her. She turned quickly to see the real boy approach the low stone wall of the graveyard. "I saw your dad on the way to the meeting. He said you were here." She swung back around, but Tom was gone. "They're nice," Boy smiled, glancing down at the flowers as he reached her side. He didn't seem to have noticed his brother. "You okay, Violet? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Not funny, Boy," she said, trying to discreetly look round the graveyard. She didn't mention Tom. Boy wasn't willing to talk about him. He blamed his brother for everything that had happened. Sometimes Violet tried to convince her best friend that it wasn't Tom's fault. She knew Macula would want that, but Boy never listened. The pair stopped at Macula's graveside, and Violet bent down, placing Rose's flowers amongst the array of giant daisies William had planted. "Do you think she's around? Mam, I mean," Boy asked. "I don't know," Violet said, standing up. "Maybe. My mam believes that stuff anyway. She sees signs everywhere. She says it means Macula's watching out for all of us." "Yeah, I think so too." Boy smiled. He seemed happy, happier than she'd seen him in a while. "I keep seeing butterflies everywhere. Dad says they're mam and—" He stopped speaking and looked down at the grave. "And what?" Violet encouraged. "It's nothing. You can't kind of tell me something and then stop." "Well, I think mam follows me sometimes." "Follows you? What do you mean?" "I don't know really. You'll think I'm crazy. But this bird has been following me for a while now. I see it everywhere, especially if I'm lonely, like it's watching out for me. I told Dad and he said it was mam." "What kind of bird?" Violet asked, goose pimples prickling her skin. "Look, there it is again," Boy beamed, pointing. A coal-black raven was perched on the arm of a bench by the wall, its shiny coat gleaming greens and blues in the evening sun. Violet's breath caught. What with everything, she'd never mentioned Tom's bird to Boy. "Maybe," she said, turning to walk back down the path. "But don't you think Macula would be a robin or an owl or something pretty instead?" Boy shook his head. "No, she'd be something smart and mysterious and strong. She'd be something magical. I know she'd be a raven." The end. For now.